Hi, welcome to Drinkosaurus, where we take ancient cocktail recipes into the modern era. My name is Matt, I am your host, and let's get drinking. On today's episode, I'm going to revisit my favorite liquor, which is Amari, which is a bitter Italian liqueur, and I'm going to build a cocktail based off of one of my favorite ones. But before we get into that, let's do a little bit of a review on what an amaro is and how you can use it in your cocktail. Put most basically, an amaro is a bitter Italian digestif. Digestif meaning you consume it after a meal to aid in digestion, as opposed to an aperitif, which you consume to stoke the appetite. Amaro is Italian for the word bitter, which is their typical flavor profile, but they do run the gamut on sweetness and fruitiness and herbaceousness. We're going to talk about how to break down the Amaro category into different specifications. Don't worry, this will all make sense based on the one that I choose. So let's spread these out and talk about how these are representative of different classifications. If you have delved into the world of Amari, you know that there are quite a few options, but there's different categories that they fall into, and I'm going to talk about them briefly. So, starting over here, we have an example of a light Amari, which are less bitter and more focused on citrus flavors. So an example of a light Amari would be Amaro Nonino, and you can see, I know the bottle has something to do with it, but the color itself is a light amber. So the lighter the color, usually the more citrusy they are. And then we move into the medium Amari, which is weird because there's a light category, there's a medium, but there's no like dark. What would come next? Light, medium, dark, or like heavy? I don't know. The medium Amari are the most popular. This is where you have like a Verna, Del Capo, Del Etna. These are your sort of standard Amaro. So they're an equal balance of bitter and fruity and herbal. So Ramazzotti would be an example of one of those. Then we have the Alpine Amaro, which are a little bit different. They have more Alpine flavors. I won't go into it. Going into the different categories is a little bit too much, but this one I have. Alta Verde is an example of a Alpine Amaro. Another one you've probably heard of is Fernet Branca. This is a part of the Fernet category, which is where you get the most bitter of the Amari. Next to it is Cynar, which is made with artichoke, which is part of the Carciofo. I did it. I've been saying that word all day. Carciofo. The Carciofo category, which is made with artichoke. As you would expect, they're bitter, but there's a surprising sweetness to them. Finally, at the end, we have Sfumato Rababaro. I'm rababaroing this bank. So give me your money. And these are made with Chinese rhubarb and typically have a smoky flavor. So you've maybe seen this one if you've seen some previous episodes. So that's how you split down the Amari. I mentioned Ramazzotti in the medium category, which is the most populous. So let's talk a little bit more about Ramazzotti because this is the Amaro that I'm going to build a drink around. So let's clear these off. Perfect. Easy. So why is Ramazzotti one of my favorites? Well, I think it has a really interesting flavor because one of the ingredients is the cola nut, K-O-L-A, nut, N-U-T, spelling. And where do you think the cola nut is also used? That's right, Coca-Cola. So these are a classification of cola-esque Amari. Another one is Melletti, I think is how you say it. We can put like a picture here. Oh no, it's still. Have fun with that in After Effects. I think this is neat because it has that like mystery flavor that is in Coca-Cola. But the Melletti, the one that I talked about before, is more Coca-Cola-esque. Ramazzotti is really Dr. Peppery, which I think is really interesting. So when I learned about that, it's something that I didn't know on my own. When I tasted it, I'm like, this tastes bitter. But I read somewhere that it is made with the cola nut, and then I was like, oh, I can taste the essence of like a cola in there. So I am going to build a cocktail with Ramazzotti, and I want to pick flavors that are complementary of that cola flavor. So this isn't going to be our spirit. This is just going to be a accent piece, but let's pick some more ingredients. So when you think of Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper, what's a complementing flavor that comes to mind?
Cherry.
Thanks, audience. Cherry. I agree. So you have cherry. Is cherry Dr. Pepper a thing?
Yes.
I learned that that's a thing. And cherry Coke. So I'm going to use cherry flavor. So I'm going to use Cherry Heering for this. Another popular cherry liqueur is Luxardo Maraschino. I talked about it in previous episodes in the bar building episodes. You tend to use Luxardo Maraschino more. The reason I'm going to use Cherry Heering is it's a little bit more dark in its flavoring, if that makes any sort of sense, and it mixes well with darker aged liqueurs. As you'll notice, Ramazzotti is a darker amaro. This is a darker liqueur. It's just more dark fruit flavors, where Luxardo Maraschino goes better with like gin or lighter. It's just more lighter in flavor. This is more robust. So we have cherry. But let's go a little bit further. What's another flavor that pairs well with Coke or Dr. Pepper?
Vanilla.
Thank you, other person that's voice is different. Vanilla. So I have, you know I love my Giffard. So I have some Giffard Vanilla Liqueur, which has a vanilla flavoring. I'm not going to use too much of this, but I don't know, when I created this cocktail, I was like, what are things that go with Coca-Cola? And cherry and vanilla are the two things that came to mind. And conveniently, I had things that complemented them. Is like vanilla cherry Coke a thing? I'm learning that that's a thing. Is cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper a thing? I don't drink soda. I don't know. So here's the complementary ingredients. The question is, what are we going to use for our spirit? And let me have you think of this for a bit. So if you've been watching this channel, you probably noticed trends that I use so far. So if you were making this cocktail and you needed to pick a spirit, what would you choose? I want you to think about it for a moment. Here's some options that I think would be appropriate. So one would be bourbon. I think bourbon would complement these well. Another would be rye, which would complement these well. I'm not going to use either of those. Here's the reason. I think rye is a little bit too much on the spicier side that I think will maybe detract from the cola-esque nature of the Ramazzotti. It would be great, it would be tasty, but it wouldn't hit that like cola note that I was looking for. Bourbon, I think, would be closer because it's sweeter, but that corn flavor, I mean, like, isn't soda like half corn syrup anyway, so maybe that would work. But I think the bourbon is the sweet, but not the sweet that I'm looking for. So what I'm eventually going to choose is an aged rum, specifically this Pedro Jimenez rum from Vermont. So Pedro Jimenez is a type of sherry. This has been aged in sherry casks, and that sherry has some really nice vanilla notes, which I think will complement our vanilla liqueur. Either one of those options could have been good. Just tweaking this drink a little bit, I found it best with a rum. But keep in mind, this isn't a Caribbean rum. This is a, I guess, New England rum. So play around, find which options you like. I found that this one tasted the most Coca-Cola-esque. So now that we have our ingredients, let's mix it together and talk about our ratios. Here comes the montage of the bottles. So we have our mixing glass. This one doesn't have any citrus or syrups, so we're not going to shake it. And I'm gonna serve it on the rocks because I feel like you need to have your soda with ice, right? I feel like non-iced soda is sad. So let's start with our rum. I am going to go with, let's do that again, I like that. I liked that. Lollipop, lollipop, oh, lollipop. But so good. All right, let's not get distracted. So I am going to add 1.5 ounces. Typically, I only use 2 ounces if I want the spirit to be the main feature. And this time we have a lot of supporting cast members, so I'm only going to do 1.5 ounces. This rum is pretty potent, so I don't want it to overpower the drink. Next, my next most populous ingredient is going to be my Ramazzotti, and I'm going to use half this amount. One thing that I like to do is I kind of take the main spirit, cut it in half, put the next ingredient, and then kind of just go down from there. You'll see what I mean in a moment. You might have noticed, where did all that Ramazzotti go? I drank it. Just kidding, this is my other bottle. I like it so much that I have one on reserve, which you saw before. That's our showpiece one. This one does all the hard work. So I want this to be the next populous ingredient so that cola flavor comes through. Next, we're going to go to our Cherry Heering. I feel like in terms of cherry and vanilla, I want cherry to be the more prominent flavor. So I'm going to give it 1/2 ounce, which is 1/4 ounce less than our previous. I use this ratio quite a bit, the 1.5, the 0.75, and then the 0.5. That's one that I feel like really works well for having a main ingredient, a complementary one, and then like a little pizzazz. In this case, we have one additional ingredient. I only want a little hint of vanilla. Like I said before, this PX Rum brings a lot of vanilla with it. So I just want this just to be an extra boost. So I'm only going to use a 1/4 ounce. Almost like a little bit of vanilla. There we go. Super easy, no muddling, no juicing. We are ready to go. So I have some ice in here, which I will add as carefully as possible. Fuck. Oh. Come on, baby. I don't know how that was staying in there, but there we go. Now that we have all our ingredients together, we are going to stir it for about 30 seconds so everything gets chilled and mixed together. It's good. It's really good. It's fantastic. It's great. You may have seen me rummaging on the side looking for my julep strainer. Do you see my julep strainer? There it is. You would think I would remember it was there because it took a long time to get that to stay balanced. But here we are. Thank you, Phineas. You're doing great. Let's pour it into our glass. Wonderful. So I'm not going to garnish this. I would garnish it with a cherry, but it would be, I don't know, a cherry. There's not a good spot for a cherry in there. If I served it up, maybe it would be good, but we don't need it. I think this is good as is. So I present to you Chica Cherry Cola. You know, from that song, the one that goes, every time I see you, to close my eyes, Chica Cherry Cola. It's a great song. Ooh, I want you, I don't know if I need you, but ooh, my microphone is falling off. Let's taste it. So on the nose, I smell my hands because I just washed them. So let's do this. So it doesn't like smell like Coca-Cola. Like it's not carbonated. I wouldn't add soda water to this. It would water it down too much, and like watered down soda is sad. So we're not going to do that. So there's not much cola on the nose. Let's see if it comes through with the drink itself. Oh, there's so much going on in there, and I love it. I'm going to take another sip. Sorry, future me, who has to film 2 more episodes today. I just have to really think, and I'm a little drunk. It's so good. It's so good. So all the flavors hit you at once, which is rare. Usually, when you drink a cocktail, different flavors like appear at different times. It's actually really interesting. I find that really cool. Part of why I like mixing cocktails. But this one, all the flavors go hello at once, and then they recede. So let me try to get the order of what happens. So the rum and the Ramazzotti are most potent at first. So that gives you that cola, rum, woody sort of flavor. Those quickly like spike and then fall down, leaving you with the cherry, and then finally the aftertaste is mostly the vanilla. So you get everything at once, and then you can kind of like just get little pieces with the aftertaste. Be warned, if like somebody really likes Coca-Cola, they might not like this drink. It's a lot more intense, it's a lot more rich, and it's a lot less sweet than soda. It's a much more spirit-forward cocktail, but I think it's evocative of the flavors. I'm gonna let Jen and Danielle take a little sip. I'm pretty sure they both will not like it, because I think they like the soda flavors, but maybe not this, but let's see if they can detect those flavors.
Do I do it on screen or?
No.
All right. I've been looking forward to trying this one.
Oh, she's gonna hate it.
Oh God, the smell is not good.
Thank you. Oh, she's giving me a thumbs up. She loves it. She can't contain her excitement.
I mostly just taste
Burning alcohol on my insides.
I'm getting the aftertaste.
Oh, now it tastes like vanilla. Okay, now it's good.
I like how you gave it back to Danielle to pass it over. I was like, she doesn't want any more.
No.
So this drink, you need to tailor it to your audience. So I prefer much more spirit forward taste. My palate is used to that. So Jen and Danielle, I think they were very quickly overpowered by the rum, which is really prominent in there. My taste buds like filtered that out a little bit more quickly, but it's cool that you got the aftertaste for it. If I were making this drink for somebody who preferred sweeter things, I would dial back the rum and increase these other ingredients. I might even do like 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, 0.75. So equal balance there. And that's one of the cool things that you can do with a cocktail. You can kind of change the ratios around, keep the same ingredients, change the ratios, and it'll change the spirit of the drink. They know when I drink a cocktail and I'm like, oh, this is so good. They're gonna hate it. Do you taste the Coke?
Let me try it again.
No, don't try it again.
Oh.
Okay. We'll see.
It's mostly rum for me.
That's really
A little bit.
a tiny bit of the Coke, but yeah, it is mostly the rum.
Hold on. Let me.
God.
Well, that'll make it.
Let me adjust it. I'm curious. Let's do it live. Say you're doing a bartender and then you make a drink and you're like, here you go. And then they're like, no, let's fix it. Though, oh my gosh. So the bar that I go to, which is really great, and the bar manager there is awesome. And the thing I feel bad about is sometimes he'll make a drink and then he'll taste it and I don't even get to taste it and he'll go, it's not good enough for you. And then he throws it out and I'm like, oh, no. But then I feel so honored. I'm like, wow, I'm really worth it. Go find a bartender that knows you. Jonathan, you're great. I don't know if he watches this. All right. I added more of these other ingredients. Let me see how that changes it. Ooh, okay. I think you'll like this a little bit more. So that definitely mellowed out the rum a lot. Those other ingredients came in and said, fuck you, rum. Danielle's making hands. She hates it. Okay.
There's less rum, but it's still so alcohol. Oh, there's the cherry.
She found the cherry.
Oh, man. Oh. I just have alcohol so rarely that I think I'm not
I can taste it a bit more.
used to it. I definitely do taste it a bit more.
All right. I have...
Cherry's now coming through.
Yes. Yeah, now I'm getting the other flavors.
Can you go into the fridge? There's one of these with a brown liquid in it. I'm going to try one more thing.
Okay.
All right. So,
I don't know what it is.
do you like this one better, Jen?
Yeah.
Jen politely said yes, which means slightly no. So, here's my last little secret. So right now, there's a suggestion of sweetness, but not actual sugar. So this is Demerara sugar, which is basically simple syrup, but made with fancy sugar so I can look classy. So I'm going to add a few bar spoons. And we're just going to add some sweetness to it. So I'm pretty sure with the sweetness in this drink, it'll counteract the kind of spirit forward nature of it. Normally at this point, I would maybe shake it, but I feel like we can get away with that. So let's see. We'll see. It's a little sweeter now.
It's drinkable now.
It was drinkable from the start. You just didn't like it.
It went from like just above tolerable to I would just drink that.
Tolerable.
Yeah.
So what we did to adjust it is we added more of the sweeter ingredients. Like I said, one of the things about being well, first of all, I am not a bartender. As a bartender, you should care what people like. I'm not a bartender. I just make what's good for me. But if you're hosting, if you're having guests, you're mixing for things, keep in mind you have to adjust your drink to the palate of others. And I would say a lot of the times, if you can drink a spirit neat, that not a lot of people can do that. And some people claim to, and they just don't like it. So adding more of the sweeter ingredients, and in this case, adding some sugar, will appeal to those tastes that people like. So that was good. Look at, you guys made a nice learning experience. Along with making a kind of themed cocktail, we also got the experience of how to take a recipe that works for you and changing it to the palate of others. Normally, the sweeter you make something, probably the wider audience it'll have. But also, if you're somebody who likes sweet things, and you want to change that, it does take work to change your palate. When I first started making cocktails, I needed things to be like really sweet, really citrusy. If you watch my channel, you know that I'm very far away from that now, and it's just because I've had to force myself a little bit to enjoy a strong alcohol flavor. It's really interesting how your palate adapts to things. Also, I'm getting old, and as you get old, you favor bitter flavors more, so that's also part of it. Drinkosaurus is a production of Little Giant Monsters. If you would like to see other projects we're working on, check out our other YouTube channels or find us on social media, links below. If you really like what we're working on, please consider supporting us on Patreon, just like these amazing people have done. Which one's your favorite? Phineas likes that one. That one. What's that down there? The comment section. Use it, please. Let me know what things you would like to see in future videos. Got an ingredient you don't know what to do with? Just really have some questions for me? Let me know, please. I would love it. I would love it so much. So, use that comment section. If you put a comment, I will give you a thumbs up, a heart, and a reply really quickly because I'm watching that and hoping. I want friends. That is all for today's episode. And remember, keep mixing, keep adjusting for your friends, and most of all, drink more responsibly than your boy. Okay, bye-bye.